All right, this is Algebra 2 Test 13 study guide. First problem says identify the axis of symmetry, the parabola. It says of the parabola, and then identify the points P and Q. So everything you can see everything on this. Counting by one each time. I know it's kind of a little bit blurry and it's small on you guys' paper, but you can see the four. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So X's value, this is your axis of symmetry. So X is 3 when you're talking about your axis of symmetry. X is 3. Then identify the vertex would be the other one that's easy to see. The vertex, you know, is at this point here. So you know X's value is the same as the symmetry. So X is going to be 3. And Y's value is how many times it goes up. It goes up once. So your vertex is 3 over 1. I'm sorry, 3, 1, not 3 over 1. And then just naming these points right here. This point Q, it looks like it's at 5, 5. And this point P, looks like it's at 2, 2. Just naming those points. 2 says a manufacturer determines the number of drills it can sell is given by the formula D. And this is in, if you notice it, it's in standard form. If you read it, you'd read it as Y equals negative 3x squared plus 168x minus 335, where P is the price of drills. So your X value is going to be your drills if you're looking at it in standard form. It says at which price will the manufacturer sell the maximum number of drills. So what we're going to do is we're going to have an equation. We can tell by looking at the picture that we're going to have an equation that looks like this, that it opens up that way. I'm sorry, I got it backwards. It opens the other way because it's negative. It's going to open this way. The question says, at what price will they sell the maximum number of drills? So we're looking for the price that is the vertex. So we're looking for the X value that's the vertex because that's how high it's going to get. So what we want to do is we want to find out what the vertex is. You can go two different ways to do this. We know how to make vertex form out of anything. That's what we've been working on the last week and a half or so. Or you know that you can find the X and then find the Y. That was the way we originally did it. So let's go back to that original way to do it. In order to find the X value, it's equal to negative B over 2A. Just to give you a little refresher on that. This is your A value, and this is your B value. So negative B would be negative 168 over 2A is 2 times negative 6. So we're going to have a negative divided by a negative here, or a negative 168 divided by a negative 12. Oh, thank you. I jumped ahead, and in my brain I did 6, because that's what it's going to come out to be. Or 9, and you mess up. All right, so times 3, it's times negative 3, which gives you negative 6 here. So negative 168 divided by negative 6 is 28. So your X value is going to be 28, and it's a positive because a negative times a negative is a positive. So once you have that value, just plug it in. And again, X is P right here, so don't let that confuse you. Plug it in place of the original equation. D equals negative 3P, or we'll have something that looks like this. Y equals negative 3 times 28 we just found squared, plus 168 times 28 again, minus 335. Okay. So when we simplify that, it's going to make some great big numbers for us, but really not super hard. You square 28. When you square 28 and then multiply it by negative 3, you're going to get negative 2,352. And then when you multiply 168 times 28, you're going to get 4,704. Again, these are great big numbers, and that's what calculators are for. But notice the steps on them really aren't that hard. You're just squaring something and then multiplying it. And then now we just got big numbers that we have to combine, add and subtract them. And when you do that, you're going to get Y's value at 2017. So we did by finding Y and finding X, or D and P in this, or P and D in this case, you found the vertex. So this point right here, and again, that's not the picture. That's just what it's similarly going to look like. That point right there, that vertex will be 28, 2017. So that tells us everything we need to know about the questions it asks. It asks, at what price will the manufacturer sell the maximum number of drills? So how much should they sell them at? No. $2,000 drill would be very expensive. A $28 drill, right? X is how much it costs. So at what price for A, $28. And then it says how many is the maximum that can be sold. It's at the very top of there. Y's value is not getting any higher. That's the maximum. So that maximum value for B is 2017. So just by finding the vertex, you found the answer to both of those questions, $28 and 2017. Dalco Manufacturing estimates its weekly profit P as hundreds of dollars. Now we have a lot smaller numbers, but if you think about it, it's talking about hundreds of dollars. But now we're dealing with much smaller numbers. It says it can be approximated by the formula y equals negative 2x squared plus 4x plus 3, where P is the number of units produced per week, or Y is the number of units produced in thousands. So it says how many units could they produce or should they produce to earn maximum profit, and then find the maximum weekly profit. Again, this picture is going to look like this, just like the last one, because it's a negative parabola. It's going to look like that, where the bottom number is talking about, it says where X is the units. We didn't add that to the last one, but it'll make it make a little more sense. And the Y value is how much profit they're going to make. So we want to find is we want to find that vertex. So we're dealing with much smaller numbers here. So do find it the same way, or we'll go ahead and we'll do this one the way we did the last couple of them, and we'll convert this into vertex form where we can see it. So Y equals negative 2x squared plus 4x plus 3. Okay. So to make vertex form, first thing you need to do is you need to take that negative 2. You want that to say x squared. So we need to multiply this and this by negative 2. This is just factoring it out like some of you guys were asking me a little while ago. What do you need to multiply negative 2 by to get positive 4? You need to multiply it by negative 2x and then plus 3. So we have y equals that. We can move that plus 3 over by subtracting it on both sides. So now we got y minus 3 equals negative 2 times x squared minus 2x, and what we need to find is plus c. So we know how to find plus c. You take b's value, which is negative 2. This is b here. Remember, to find c, it's negative b over 2 squared. So negative 2 is going to be positive 2. Divided by 2 is 1. And 1 squared is 1. So your c value is going to be plus 1. Okay. But remember, the one thing we had to change yesterday, you have to take this value and multiply it by this. So a negative 3 times a negative 2 is going to be a positive 6. So y plus 6. And then we just added c's value in at plus 1. So plus 1 equals negative 2 times x squared minus 2x plus 1. And we'll factor that perfect trinomial out. It's going to get cleaned up in a second. Y plus 7 equals negative 2 times, and then take the square root of this, which is x, and the square root of this, which is 1. This tells you they're minus in the middle, squared. And then in order to make vertex form, just get y by itself by subtracting 7 on both sides. So negative 2 times x minus 1 squared minus 7 equals y. And there's your vertex form. So from there, you can tell everything you got to know. You can see that your vertex is positive 1. We made a mistake somewhere. Negative 7. Let's go back and do it the other way. I know we did a lot of work just now. We're still looking for the same thing. Just for the sake of speed, everybody, we're still looking for the same thing. But let's just wanted to show you a different way, but we made a mistake somehow. I'm not sure where. X equals negative b over 2a. That seemed to work for us the first time. So negative b is negative 4 over 2 times negative 2. So negative 4 over negative 4. So x is going to be 1. This is going to be a whole lot faster. So x is 1. and then find y. So y equals negative 2 times 1 squared plus 4 times 1 plus 3. If you ever make a mistake like that during the middle of a test, that's something that you can do. You can just do it the way that another way that you're comfortable doing it. Plus 4 times 1 is plus 4 plus 3. So negative 2 plus 4 plus 3 is 7 minus 2. So your y value, this one looks a whole lot better. Y value is going to be 5. So your vertex, way faster to do it that way. Your vertex is going to be 1, 5. So again, looking at your picture, where it's up there, that vertex is here. That's going to be at 1, 5. So to answer the question, how many units should the company produce per week to earn the maximum profit? 1 unit. The X value, 1. And then what is the maximum weekly profit? 5,000. Oh, it's 1 in 5. And again, it told us here, it said X is in thousands. It says where X is the number of units produced in thousands. So this X right here would be 1,000 drills. Oh, not drills this time. Now we're talking about whatever their profit is. Drills was the last one. So 1,000 drills. And then what is their profit? The left one is the Y value is thousands too. So $5,000 is their profit. So 1 in 5 is what you need to know. 1,000 and 5,000. Whole lot faster than doing it the other way. This one's easier. You can see the y-intercept, or you can see the vertex right away because it's in vertex form. A times x minus h squared plus k. Remember, minus h just means it's the opposite of what this one says. This one says negative 3, so that means it's positive 3. This one's exactly what this one says, negative 3, positive 3, negative 3. So the vertex is 3, negative 3. In order to find the y-intercept, you just plug in 0 in place of x. So y equals 2 times 0 minus 3. And this is the one we did earlier. Minus 3. So negative 3 squared minus 3 times 2. Negative 3 squared we know is positive 9 times 2, which is 18 minus 3. So y is 15. So your y-intercept is 15. This one's factoring it out. We did this one a little earlier too. What do they have in common? The number 2 they have in common. 2 times 3 gives you 6. They also have the number x, or the term x in common. So x times x is x squared. And 2x times 7 is 14x. So 2x times 3x plus 7. Factoring these out. Now we're talking about trinomials. So you need to factor out c. So factoring out c is 1 in 32, 2 in 16. 3 doesn't go into it. 4 times 8. And we don't have to go any farther than that because that's the pair we want. So when you open up a set of parentheses, or 2 sets of parentheses, x times x, and then 4 and 8. This one right here tells you that they're going to be the same term. They're either going to be the same, plus, plus, or minus, minus. This one says since they're the same, they're both minus. So minus 4, minus 8. That's a factor version. Factor out 8, the c value again. 1 times 8, 2 times 4. Which one of those pairs will get you to the number 2? Which one of them gets you to the b value? Yeah, 2 and 4 are the only one, because 1 and 8 will either get you to 9 or 7. So when you open up your set of parentheses, or 2 sets, I always got to remind myself x and x, and then 2 and 4. This tells you that they're going to be opposite signs, one positive, one negative. This one says since they're opposite, this is the larger one. 4 is larger, it's going to be positive. So minus 2 plus 4. Number 8 says y is less than or equal to negative x squared plus 3x minus 1. Okay, so you want to graph this one, or put this in a term, in a way that you can see it. We know that x equals negative b over 2a, just like the ones we did a little while ago. Or you can move it, since this one has a negative value. Let's go ahead and leave it alone. But if it had a 1 coefficient for x squared, it'd be a whole lot faster to move it to vertex form. So negative b is negative 3 over 2a, 2 times negative 1. So 3 over negative 3 over negative 2 is positive 3 over 2. is your x value. So from there, you can find your y value if you use this one as y equals instead of less than or equal to. Negative x's value is 3 over 2 squared plus 3 times 3 over 2, because that's what we just found out is x. So square 3 over 2 and you get 9 over 4, and that's negative. Multiply these two, you get 9 over 2 minus 1. So now we're dealing with fractions yet again. So we have negative 9 over 4 plus 9 over 2 minus 1. So if we change all of these to have the same denominator or the same bottom number, they'll all be 4. So negative 9 over 4 is going to stay the same. This one has to multiply by 2. So this has to multiply by 2, so plus 18. And this is over 1, so that has to multiply by 4, so does this. So you get minus 4, negative 4. So your bottom number is the same now. Keep it that way as 4. And add straight across. Negative 9 plus 18 is 9, and 9 minus 4 is 5. So your x value, I'm sorry, that's your y value, is 5 over 4. So you have your x and your y, you have your vertex. Now, your vertex is 3 over 2, 5 over 4. This is a miserable problem to graph. 3 over 2, 5 over 4. We can graph that. We know that this is the same thing as 1.5, and this is the same thing as 1 1/4. Time you start dealing with fractions like this, it gets a whole lot more bothersome to graph, everybody. But if you notice about them, even though they're tough and everything, they're still going to be it's still not going to be super hard if you just follow the same steps. Just you might just make an arithmetic mistake. So 1.5 and 1 1/4 would be kind of like right here. That's your vertex. So that's going to be the highest point since it's a negative parabola. We know it's going to open up going down. The next two are going to be pretty easy though to find. You want to have at least two values. This one right here is going to be 1 we're going to plug in, and this one's going to be 0. So if we just say x equals 1 and we just plug it back into the same parabola or the same equation from a minute ago. So y equals negative x squared plus 3x minus 1. Negative x squared plus 3x minus 1. You just plug in that value 1, so negative 1 squared plus 3 times 1 minus 1. This is 1, and then you bring down the negative plus 3 minus 1. So you have negative 1 plus 3 is 2, and 2 minus 1, y's value is 1. So your point is going to be 1, 1. So that one's going to be here. You know that your axis of symmetry is at 1.5. So if you mimic it on this side, it'll be right here at 2, 1.